side due to the lag and the sound quality, so that no information is missed. It just so it runs more efficiently. So is everybody ready? Randy, is the recording ready? Okay. The notice is hereby given that a regular council meeting of the town of Laguna Vista, Texas will be held on Tuesday, the 10th day of February, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the City Hall located at 122 Fernandez Street in Laguna Vista. Some members might participate via video conference. A quorum of the town council will be physically present at the above meeting location. The following items will be discussed. We'll talk about that later, and then the meeting is hereby called to order. Rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Tolan, would you give the invocation, please? Ms. Tolan, did you hear me? Can you do the Pledge of the invocation, please?
Stay, Lord.
Oh, sorry.
Holy Father, we thank you for the many blessings of us and our citizens in our community. We ask fighting others, Lord. Be with us, Lord, tonight. Help us balance of our citizens in our community. In your son's name we pray, amen.
Amen. America, republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice. Texas, I pledge allegiance to you. Thank you. I'll hereby give over to Ms. Howard. Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Councilmember Carter? Here. Councilmember Howard?
Here.
Councilmember Tolan?
Here.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Here.
Councilmember Worrell?
Here.
Councilmember DeGlio?
Open forum. At this time, audience is allowed 3 minutes per person to address the council. There will be no discussion or formal action taken during this agenda item. The speaker. Sheldon.
No, that's, I'm just from the press.
Oh, okay. Did you
Yeah, that's Mr. Owan. Right?
Yes, that's me.
The only one was given.
Yeah, that's Mr. Owan, the one you're reading.
Right here.
Okay, go ahead. You can stand if you wish.
Okay, well, I've been a resident of the town of Laguna Vista for 12 years. Live on the golf course community. For the last 6 years, I've been living at 125 Golf House Road, facing the wetland, the federal wildlife wetland. 150 feet from me, a year-round running stream, tendency to flood. More so now because of the development of Torrey Pines to Section 2 and the build out with impervious surfaces coming down, making rain force down towards me. Also, the flats, a known floodplain. So with all the valley counties, knowing the fact that flooding is a potential disaster, I've been in discussion with Mr. Tom Hushin, the head of the Emergency Management Office and Mitigation, his subordinates, and the Department of Transportation engineers that are they're all familiar with what I just stated about the wetland and about the flooding potential. So I've been months since Mr. Mesa sent out the directive of August 6th about the town, including the golf course, being instrumental in trying to get funds to mitigate the possibility of any flooding potential. Now, I understand anything above 8 inches of rain to 15 inches during 3 days of rain will cause flooding that won't be able to be contained possibly. But up to 8 inches, I think that's a possibility. I've seen it 5 inches where it would creep up to my home from that drainage area, that wetland. So now I bring into play the service plan, the annexation of the golf course community. No different than any other residential street in this town. You are the lead agency when it comes to planning. You're the lead agency coming to site plan development. You're the lead agency as a town for building permits and code enforcement. I'm asking you to go to bat for me because in this document, if you're not familiar, it's very good reading, especially for the lawyer, Mr. Ozona, which I hope you read because I questioned Renzi a month ago if she ever read it. It's very interesting because you're responsible for the whole kit and caboodle. You're the lead agency, the only one I can contact. And I'd like to see site plan review and development, environmental tax statements, and perk testing, and everything else involved. So if you could please contact the engineer for the gallery development company. I like that gallery of homes because I've tried to contact everyone, including the town, and I've gotten nowhere. Thank you. Oh, and P.S. I've been a recipient of having to put in for FEMA flooding myself in a previous life. And I also spent 11 years on zoning and planning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. New business, discussion, consideration, and possible action on each of the following items. Number 1, minutes. Consideration and possible action to approve the minutes of the April 6, 2022 special meeting. Is there a motion? Is there any?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Move to accept that.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay.
There's a motion on the floor made by Mr. Worrell, second by Mr. Gonzalez.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Tolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Digglebale,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 2, minutes, consideration and possible action to approve the minutes of the April 12, 2022 meeting. Discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12 meeting.
Is there a second? Motion on the floor by Mayor Smith, second by Mr. Worrell.
Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Tolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Digglebale,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Passes. Item 3, financial reports. Review financial reports. Ms. Gonzalez.
You have the same report that we typically provide, the check register at the first. And then sheets in the back funds. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Carter.
I'm glad you finally included the balance sheets. But in regards to the balance sheets, there's a lot of incorrect balance numbers on the balance sheets. We shouldn't have credits on assets. They should all be debits. We shouldn't have debits and liabilities. They should all be credits.
Like, for example, what, Mr. Carter?
Like on the general fund, AR sales tax. That should be a receivable. And it says it shows a negative $10,778. So they've been overpaid $1,778. They owe it to somebody. Going down the list, Community Loan Center, there's a credit, there's a debit for $170. That means they've overpaid. Garnished child support, they've overpaid child support. Payroll taxes payable. Income taxes withheld, they've overpaid income taxes withheld by $2,879. Medicare withheld, $850. Social Security tax withholding, $3,600. So $7,361 overpaid.
Ms. Chapa, do you have more information on this, please?
And there's other ones too. I don't want to nitpick, but you know.
Ms. Chapa, can you guys hear me? Ms. Chapa, do you have any information of this, please? Or can you get with Mr. Carter later and figure out exactly why these numbers are incorrect?
Anything else in the financial report? No further discussion? Okay, let's move on to number 4. Budget amendment, consideration and possible action to approve budget amendments for the following departments. Ms. Gonzalez.
So the first one before you is for a fuel increase. Obviously, with the cost of fuel, we're about to be in the negative with for our units. So it's estimated that the police will need approximately $7,000 more to fuel up for this school year.
Any questions on the police department's budget amendment?
And then, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you want me to do the second one? So you can...
We're all together?
Yeah, let's do them all together.
Then the next one we have is, this is what Councilmember Carter brought to y'all's attention last meeting, that there wasn't an actual budget amendment done for the police salaries. So what I did was I went in and I confirmed that the minutes were what they were, approved the raises. And this is just the budget that solidifies what was.
Yeah.
Questions on the salary adjustments? Public Works?
Okay, the budget amendment is the same. We have fuel. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have the same for fuel. We also had an additional increase it a bit more than what it would average out to because we have the code enforcement unit now in the mix. So I increased it to 4,000 to get all of the 3 trucks and the building inspector unit gas for the generators or anything like that that we need for our hurricane season.
City Hall?
City Hall, I'm asking for a budget amendment for a couple or 3 things. We have the deadlines coming up for registration for the TML conference, for the MIP conference coming up. And if we wait till the fiscal year to register, we're actually too late. So for some of these conferences beforehand. So we've kind of been doing it on the flip side or haven't been doing it. So we haven't really had to worry. The TML opens, I think it was July 1st for registration. And so if we wait obviously until October 1st, it'll be too late to register for that. So I'm basically asking that we flip flop. So we won't have to have as much in our next fiscal year budget because we're basically advancing and we'll be getting all of our training and travel requests in now for the next fiscal year. So that's what the travel and the items are for. And then we need some more office equipment and supplies in City Hall. We have, we're running out of space to put things. We're running out of space to put people. We don't have the desk for, we had to make shift a desk for the building inspector. So I just few desks are being held together by duct tape. So I was just wondering if I could get a little bit of money for some office furniture.
Any questions on City Hall? Yes, Mr. Berger.
On the revenue, you're taking it from, you're increasing your property tax revenue budget?
No, I'm decreasing the property tax revenue, and then I would be putting it into the other three accounts. We're already at 98%.
But how does that work when the property tax revenue is a revenue and the expense are an expense? So you have to be increasing a revenue that increase expense.
I'm taking it from the revenue account because we're
So
already at 98.
you're going to increase revenue, but we already budgeted for revenue. It's kind of a solid number.
What
So
account do you suggest it comes from, Mr. Carter?
I just don't know how we're going to produce more property tax revenue when it's already been levied.
Well,
No,
no,
you
but
have a valid point. I'm just asking what other account you guys would recommend.
I don't look at the books every day, so.
well, we're already at 98% collected, and I don't know what might, and we still have, so when I looked at the numbers, I felt like we would be above what we budgeted for property tax.
I would probably feel more comfortable taking from that account if it was at 100%, let's say. Is there anywhere else that we could deduct from?
I didn't get to be in the executive session with Judge Hunter and the other lawsuit. We have a large legal fees budget that has some room to, because I don't think we're going to go through all that since that other case doesn't seem like it's going to go into litigation during this fiscal budget. So there's room to move there. That's in the City Hall budget.
Yeah, we need to find somewhere because you guys need some desks. You know, I saw the tables the other day and it's kind of hodgepodge in there, and it would be nice to give you guys some decent workspace to work on.
And we had some expenses that unfortunately we had to pay for out of office supplies that otherwise we could have done it within our normal budget. But if you look on page 2, if you go to the tab number 3 and of the budget, I think that it's on page 2 where it says legal services, account code 60440. We budgeted 100,000 because we thought that case was going to go to litigation. Year to date, it's only 36. I don't think Mr. Ozuna is going to use up another 63,000.
We hope not.
I think that's a valid idea because it's not, based on the information we have now, that's your exact correct. Based on the information we have now.
Right.
I think that's a good idea too. That is at this point, and due to our previous discussion with legal counsel, that's probably a number we're not going to get close to. So that might be a good idea to take a tiny little bit out of there.
Mr. Carter?
Well, if you're taking from office furniture, don't you want to go to office? So it's actually.
So so at the end of the day.
Because you also have the wrong account number for office furniture. That's a revenue account.
Yes, that is the wrong account. The day, our budget adjustment at the office supply expense account for $3,000. A desk set with the cabinet and like a file storage. I can't find anything cheaper than 900 to 1,000.
What's the right amendment?
So it's for $7,500, or the 9,000 would be the total amendment that I'll be taking from the GL of legal fees. So the GL code would be 43.
We have the right
No,
amount.
it won't. It'll be more because it's $1,500 more for office furniture. It'll be $10,500.
No, 75 plus 15 is 9,000. So we're going to
No,
take
but
9,000.
you want to increase furniture, right?
Yes.
You want to increase furniture by $1,500. So
Correct.
on the bottom is you're going to, right? You want to increase travel, increase training, increase office
Right,
supplies,
so
and increase office furniture.
right, which is what I have. So our office furniture right now is at 1915. We add 1,500 to
I
it.
understand. I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying you want to increase it by $1,500.
Yeah.
So it should be $10,500, not $9,000.
Is the office furniture the office supplies?
Yes. I guess
Yes.
So if to account, if that would say office furniture.
Is it an issue of semantics? Is that the issue?
Yeah, I think supply should say office.
Yes, Ms. Darling, you're correct. So do we agree to take the money from the legal account and put some more money for office furniture?
And if you guys want to approve to increase the training and the travel education, there's three. So you're taking 9,000, dividing it between the travel, the training and education, and the office supply. Yeah.
So if we change the word supplies to furniture, then everything's good.
And then the account number, and then the account number.
It's not okay because it's still,
So one thing.
you either have to take the office furniture on top of $1,500 shouldn't be there, right?
Why not?
Because you're
Just
taking,
get
you're
away.
reducing the
Yes.
budget.
That's what I acknowledge that should not have been there. So what it should be is the 9,000 for the property tax revenue. So what the correct amendment is $9,000 from, it would have said the property tax revenue. Pay the legal fee.
Legal fees.
So the new amendment.
And what's the amount?
43000.
For $9,000.
For $9,000.
Yes, sir, for 9,000.
And then we'll have 6,500 and 1,500.
6,500 in travel, 1,000 in training and education, and 1,500. That's how I'm gonna split everything up. And
I
then,
understand that. I just, where it was coming from, you were just kind of, you were doing a zero-sum game here with 1,500 on both sides. So.
We got it all straight.
Second line item on the top is done.
Well, both line items at the top are done.
So it's
not
coming
gonna
from
change
the
the separate account.
43000 legal fees, 9,000 down to the.
Okay, so with that adjustment made to the account and to the semantics of the amendment, do we have a motion for these three budget amendments or any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve these budget amendments.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Smith, second by
Councilmember Carter?
Yep.
Councilmember Tolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Item 5. Fiction and possible sell occupancy and budget member Jacobeo and Worrell. You have the floor.
So we had a company who offered their service, taking over our, and I remember we just decided to sort of worth it for. That was kind of the first thing where it kind of got in my head with a hot. And Mr. Morel and I were signing some questions, how things happened, and that was the second point that sprung out to us with the hot chats. And then when we dug into a little bit, we realized that we really didn't do anything. We just apparently there was a ordinance in 2007, but it was never really enforced. residents who rent, and maybe I should quickly explain hot tax is then has to pay. And the I'm very thankful for that, but I think it's just not fair. Okay, some people don't. We punish the people who do the right things. It was bring that up and have a discussion about that, and through the existing ordinance and see how we can make it the little adjustment, make it friendly for our and to really make sure that we can enforce it. And so I Wendy a little bit about it, and should be able to make it quite easy. There should be a registration process so we know who rents out short term and that it's registered every year, because there was a lot of things going on. People are not, I'm pretty that they have to pay this kind of tax. And it's up to us to educate our residents to do so. And make it to them. And then keep an eye on it. And the city is growing, we get another subdivision, there will be more short-term rental is definitely money we can definitely use. Our job not to pursue this and make it that everybody's on the same page. It's going to be over. And I don't know if everybody had a chance to read through the ordinance 2007-30. I did, and I
amendments.
Yes.
Question. What, if any, registration process do we have now?
No. I like the idea of if we're having it made, our residents can so online and also pay. We don't need not to do it. It needs to be easy, fast, quick. With the and yeah, so right now we don't.
Also use their state sales tax, just their state,
Right, but yes.
Local number on there also, right? So that way it would be easy for us. And those numbers need to jive between the state and city. And so just a little double check. It also force them to get that number.
Right.
And then
Yes.
Is this process user-friendly? Like, when you rent somewhere, kind of just following one package deal, if you will.
Well,
so now the renters would have, or how would it work, the process?
So, as far as I know, I used to work in a property management company. The way it was set up, that the owner is to pay the tax, who is renting out. So it's up to them if they take the local and put it on their rent, but at the end, the owner who has to. So it really has nothing to do with it. I think they have to write it out, what is all included in the price, but that really has nothing to do with us.
It's calculated on gross rents.
You want to walk us through the amendments?
So the things I found, page 2, and I think this is all, this ordinance was done in 2007. We're now in 2020, so it might have changed. Under definitions, like to get an explanation what all falls under the word hotel. That's, I think, very important. And there is a in the what's here we have building or buildings in accommodation for consideration for less than 30 days, including a hotel, motel, tourist home, tourist house, tourist court, lodging house, inn, breakfast facilities. Additionally, a short-term rental is the rental of all or part of a residential property to a person who is not permanent and they are subject to the hotel occupancy tax. So I think this is very important that we implement.
May I ask for that language? A model ordinance or
what counties need that?
Oh, okay. That's a publication I shared with Randy, yes. and it's very good. It's at this point there hasn't been much legislative activity of substance that would affect us in terms of what that bridge. I would just say that this is an area, and not that we can't amend it to conform to some model. This is an area where the statute has the primary definition of the term. We can't define the term in a way that's different, and that does that. Every once in a while, statutes will change. Statutes will be modified, and you may be studying. In fact, we have some ordinances that really sense will change, and so the statute trumps out our ordinance. I might want to recommend that we, in addition to something we're defining it as state law, something along those lines that links it to a potentially ever changing set of definitions.
I mean, is this the sort of thing that is going to have another ordinance written? It's going to be one actual.
Well, we can amend it, and if we take action to amend it tonight, that will essentially be our first reading. We'll have to then confirm it with a second reading and final print out.
And then it'll be a new ordinance with
a new number, repeating 0730. One more thing, just in terms of disclosure. This is the document that we're reading from that I shared with you. It's a very good legal analysis. It is put out or put together by the Texas Hotel and Lodging Association. So it's they're on generally on the other side of regulatory bodies when it comes to that kind of thing. Not that there's anything wrong with the definition or anything wrong with their analysis. Really, I find it a good legal resource. That's why I shared it.
Well, I also read through the statute itself. The statute.
just wanted to disclose that to everyone so that we know we're adopting some more product from the other side. It's fine. It's very good.
That's on page 2 of our existing ordinance about hotel is pretty all inclusive. It does.
The only thing missing is that 30-day limitation, which appears elsewhere in our ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of defining anything you could think of that you could rent out for money, you know, townhome, condo, farming house, lodging house, bed and breakfast, guest room,
Airbnb.
you know, buy it however you want. Pretty good.
The 30-day limitation on short-term rental versus long-term rental.
The statute considers anything permanent. And so those arrangements are not eligible to impose.
Yeah, I have a high tax on.
Therefore, under exceptions, second page, it says either therefore. So a lot of government employees are exempt from that. I would like that we will receive proof of that exemption also. And that I couldn't find that in our ordinance.
Even the state doesn't require that unless you're being audited on any exception, because there's also sales tax exemptions and other exemptions. Okay, so I think it might be an undue burden to certain people if you were to require that.
I remember to read something that the state tax that you have to show proof, like a photo ID.
No, you have to have proof as far as you being you being the person who's granting the exception. Okay, but the state comes and looks at your post, and you have an exception. Then they'll ask you, where's that exception? Okay, and that's where you have the documentation.
And you have 4 years, you have to keep 4 years the paperwork on hand.
Probably.
I got 4 years. I don't know how they came up with 4 years. But that means if somebody, they have to show us.
Yes, completely.
As long as some kind of wording is in there, so.
On our hot tax sales form, there's a section on it that has exemptions. Okay, and so you do report if you have an exemption or not.
So as long as it's clear that they have to keep that proof somewhere on file, just in case if we audit that we are able to review that.
Well, it's already by state statute.
Like that is different, right?
No, but all I'm saying is that by state statute, you're required to keep that. I'm just
right.
I think state law kind of anything. So
if you look at section down page 8, we have administration of ordinances and record keeping. So on section C, it talks about the examination of records and audits. And if in writing, we say in writing we want to examine the books, papers, records, financial reports. Tax has been, you know, I mean, it tells you that we can look at all. Oh no, I'm sorry, it says B. Required from all lodging providers. Every lodging provider renting guest rooms in the town shall preserve for a minimum of 4 years all folios, receipts, certificates of exemption, and other such documents as the city secretary may prescribe.
I did not see that.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, it is there. That's maybe where you saw the 4 years.
Yes, yeah. That's 4 years. Perfect. The next
I'm sorry,
point.
Councilman,
Yeah.
before we go on, I mean, there'll be a motion at the end of this process, but I want to make sure I understand, because I'll be probably the one tasked with writing up whatever the council decides it wants in terms of where I heard that discussion move off was that there appears to be a desire for some kind of verification process for any tenant, for lack of a better word, that is utilizing the exemption of the renter who is then explaining to us we're not paying tax on this particular room because the person who rented that room is exempt. Councilman Carter observed that might create an undue burden, and that is an issue that regulatory bodies want to be careful. I just didn't hear how that got resolved. Are we going to?
It's already in there.
Okay, so we're happy with that.
So we're good with that. So that fall on the wayside. One is page 4, registration. On here it says in the second paragraph, the city secretary shall, after such registration, issue without charge. And I would propose that we should ask for a minimal registration charge, maybe $50 annually. If, you know, there's extra work involved in it. And I propose it to do it annually, so we can maybe put on the registration number the year they registered. So every time, then we know right away, this is the registration number. When it comes up at 22 and we're in 23, we know they haven't registered. And it just gives us a little bit more of a I don't want to make it like enormous amount of money, a small registration, if we allow to.
I don't know off the top of my head. As you were reciting it, I was wondering, is there any prohibition on that? And I don't know that off the top of my head. The reason that I'm thinking there may be is that it seems like this ordinance did a pretty good job of tracking statutory requirements, and this language may be in there because maybe at the time, in 2007, the legislature had provided that we have to issue those things without. I'll verify that, and if that's something that council would like to do, we can do it. If it's prohibited by law, now we can.
I would like to hear.
Well, I did start with the fact that some folks
We don't know. Right? We don't know. I can't really tell you.
We want to encourage that they do it. Now we're going to charge them. Encourage it.
You know, I think the encouragement is what, for me, what I think is to make it as easy as possible. But I think it's okay. We're not asking $500. We're asking $50. That's my opinion. 25. If we're allowed to.
Yeah, I'll verify.
But also, when it comes down to like reporting on tax to the state or any kind of sales tax type activity, you have to report even a zero tax. Okay, and so, and I met with Randy regarding this exact thing. And so, the minute that they do register, okay, we need to have a list. And if they don't file, then there should be a penalty that they don't file. Okay, forever. Okay, and so there should be this is my last return. You know, this is a zero return. You know, state if you don't return, they still fine you. You still have to pay. Okay, so I would just say we might just be making it more difficult for people. And I think an initial fee is definitely there. I don't think an annual fee might not. You know, because then we go after them because they didn't file their return. And then you go, hey, why didn't you file your return? Here's your penalty.
They've also seen we were, like you said earlier, penalizing the good people of the world. They're the ones that are paying them. But the main thing, I guess, is finding that process to get everybody to sign
That's right.
But that's what we're gonna have to have somebody in your office, because we decided as a body that we did not want to have a one person for us. But it's the kind of thing that somebody who's going to look into who's renting homes in the area and whether or not they're registered with us. And so that it's not happening, but you know, that's what this is, that process is.
And the town is to devote a portion of the hot tax to covering the portion of the salary that is spent in having the employees do that. In other words, it could be budgeted to whatever percentage of the amount of time they spend on that. I would say it's 5% of their yearly work. 5% of that's 95% out. I don't know if we're doing that now. It's like not.
Well, I put it in. No, we're not. Yeah. I put it in the. Well, we don't even have an operating budget for it.
So I like the idea as long as we are able to keep track and to keep going and not letting it on the wayside. The other thing in the same paragraph, that city secretary shall, after such registration, a certificate of authority to each lodging provider to collect the tax from their occupant. Separate registration shall be required for each place of business of a provider. Each certificate shall state the name, location. I would like to see that when we do that, they also can, and I don't know if they are allowed to, can sign with an electronic signature. So they, when they register, that they don't really have to come to City Hall. Would that be something to do?
I think we're allowed to do it, but it's, I mean, in addition to coming up with ordinance language that permits it, we would actually have to develop that electronic infrastructure in City Hall to be able to do that. Off the top of my head, I don't know like what software companies.
Actually, that we need to buy it for the office anyway, the Adobe Acrobat, where everyone can just add their signature. I mean, I do it through an account. I mean, but there's a bid that I'm putting on for the budget next year. It's minimal, but it would allow for us to auto send for signatures and people can sign them and send them back through email. I mean, it's kind of commonly practice now to do things that way. I've sent out, different things I needed the council signature on. That way it's helped get things moving faster. But
yeah, I mean, there's nothing illegal. The statute actually doesn't say how someone is supposed to register. It just allows cities to require people. It's up to us to decide.
And the other point I would like to ask is that to discuss, to see that, and I know the island that in every advertising, they then have to use a registration. So if they advertise on Facebook, if they advertise on any of the VRBO, they have to put that registration on. And I think that will help us to keep track on who is advertising and with what kind of registration number, and also make sure that if somebody advertises and there is no number, then we know they are not registered with us.
That's it. Brings a potential for a slightly different issue. Your registration, which covers people who are business entities or people who are obligated to collect and pay tax. So they're the advertisers are fall into that group of people and entities who will spend our pot. There's specific statutory obligation to spend money. The advertisers may or may not be also in the business of renting out facilities that are subject to the you may have a company that we hire to promote tourism and convention in town, but without rooms. We have a registration number, but they will still be authorized efforts.
I'm talking about the owner or the property management company, then looking after that. On the island, they have to write the registration number on any kind of advertising.
Registration like for an individual.
The hot tax registration number from SBI.
So it sounds like on the island, businesses that rent out rooms are advertising, and they're getting the city's money to do it.
No. So let's say the owner of specific address is renting it, and they are putting that on South Padre Concierge or whatever Facebook site. Okay. They have to put the registration number in the body of the text.
I see. In other words, if a local subject to the hot tax is going to utilize some resource to advertise, then we registration. Okay, I misunderstood.
If you go to VRBO and you go to South Padre Island, the first one, and it has a permit number.
Yeah.
Not just town resources, it's LEV or.
Right, but now those.
Well, it's all advertising.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not necessarily hot money.
No. Yeah, exactly. I think what that's just a way, like when, like I was showing Mr. Well the other day, when you go to VRBO and you go to Luna Vista, okay, there's rentals and you don't know them out. They're paying the hot tax, they're not paying the hot tax. And so it'd be easier for a town employee to go through VRBO and say, hey, they're not registered, where they could double check that if they're using a fake number.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of a,
it'd
be kind of an easy way for the town to audit the account.
And
I agree with that.
On that subject, someone who's consciously paying hot tax by not rich, but not rich because they just don't want to deal with it. They want to come in. There are towns that I've worked have basically drawn on enforcement of municipality to verify that someone should be there. Usually, that kind of endeavor is it's something that's in a business district in the city. There are regulatory requirements for permits, and in that process, the business owner would have to state what the purpose of the business is. If it's short-term rental, then that would trigger someone else in the same code enforcement. This person has to register. If it's a short-term rental that's permitted in a residential area, primarily residential area, usually that's by a special use permit or conditional use permit. So people who approve those will be triggered to the fact that there are people who are needing to register for hot purposes. And so it requires basically a joint effort of all of your regulatory personnel to figure out who's supposed to register. So I mention that because it's kind of similar to the idea of someone who's trying to either fake or avoid.
Well, there's plenty of them. Trust me. Those of us that do pay it won't pay.
Right.
So we would need, and that this isn't something necessarily by language. We would sort of work all around. If someone has to do a conditional use permit or short-term rental, let's make sure they're attached to it if they don't have it.
And I think the other things look good to me. The only thing I wanted to point out, I didn't know that either. I read it, I'm smarter now, that if you pay the total amount that it says in the rate of the deduction shall be 1% of the amount due, but only if the amount due was not delinquent at the time of payment. So we're giving them a percent discount as a kind of an incentive to pay it. That's already.
That was all good stuff. Thank you so much, Mr. Worrell. Discussion?
Is there enough information for a motion to be made for those amendments?
I just go over them. I think I have three. One, we want something to indicate verification of the exemption, statutory exemptions for education.
We decided.
Oh no, we decided. Okay,
yes.
so that's out.
Yeah.
The other one was I'll need to verify whether or not we can have a one-time administrative charge for the initial registration.
Correct.
And then a requirement.
But if we can't, it's going to be 25 or 50.
50. Is everybody okay with $50?
And finally, any advertising for a room subject to this ordinance must also state the town registration. So those are the.
Do we add that we are using part of the state tax for our registration, or is that just internal what we do?
That's just an internal number.
Do we have to point out that we will be able to do it electronically? Does it need to be in there, the deans of how the payments are?
Let's see, this is a registration. Yeah, I don't know that we have to. We would need to make it known, so we need to promote it somehow. And one way we could do that was to state in our ordinance this is available electronically. Another way we could do it is just to have it available online in a way similar to the ability of traffic petition recipients to pay on that.
If we put it in the ordinance, so then we're committed to the mechanical collection.
Yeah, sure.
There's that.
Sometimes less is more.
All right.
Okay. I don't think it needs to be language here. It's something that we would be happy to do.
Can I ask a question? So when it comes down here, it says the city secretary shall send registration without charge, a certificate of authority to each lodging provider. Separate registration shall be required for each place of business of a lodging provider. So there's two different happen?
No. I
So,
read that too. It only points out that, let's say you have more than one short-term rental property, then you need, or three, you get the registration number per property.
Right, okay, so
I know.
Can I just use SPI Realty because they're the ones that have the most, and they're gonna need. You have to register themselves, one, and then they will need one for each of their properties, so there would be two certificates, because you see what I'm saying? It's saying you register each address.
Mm-hmm.
This, you know, a registration shall be required for each place of business of a lodging provider. So if you are running, so we have SPI Realty, we have, what are the other ones, Norma, that do it through the business? The Vacasa, what are the other hot checks that come in? Vacation, every property map that have multiple addresses. So am I supposed to have a separate certificate? You see what I'm saying? Because the way to
There has to be one for each property, right? Yeah. There's just one number for each property.
Because that's all we need when the payments are coming in.
Because all that matters is that each property pays the tax.
right, yeah, who? Okay,
Well, we're
so
not
we
gonna
can.
collect $50 for every property.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does South Thunder Island do? Do they collect a fee? And registration, sure.
No, 99%.
I'm
99%, we're not sure, or 99% they do?
no, yeah,
I'm
What do they
sure.
charge?
I think there's upwards to like 150. It's one time only. I don't think it's annually. It's just the one time.
Which is.
Yeah, to register. Yeah.
Once get in and until
That
they
way-
file the last final return, they don't file a return, they get a penalty.
Should we decide what else it is in this part?
Oh, there's a
Okay.
there's a misdemeanor and a minor.
The question is I have is how are we going to keep track? Mike, I might have missed that. How are we going to keep track if they don't file? And is that something we want to burden ourselves with?
Yes, because then if they don't file, then some either they're not following good. If they don't have revenue, they should report that. Return from them. Let's say you have people that file a return, you expect 100 a month, and you should go down the list. It's just easier.
Okay, you. Sorry if I'm interrupting you, but you're breaking up a little bit, and I just want to make sure it's like, how are we gonna know if they filed or not? How do we as a city will know if people filed their taxes? Sorry, you're breaking up, so I think I missed
List of 100 people, let's say that, and so we expect to get 100 returns.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
To add that language, because right, the only penalty language has to do with paying the tax. Because there is, so we'll need language about the registration and then language about not filing.
But it's just an individual.
Right.
Those are fine. Those are. We collect that. I just regarding 5 versus 11, wondering why the violation does not encompass right to register. But what I'm hearing the council say is that it should.
About filing.
Any further discussion?
So
Is it?
I'm sorry, appropriate motion for this might be, move to approve the amendment to 2007.
Is there a motion? Motion. Okay, motion on the floor. Second by Carol.
Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wara, Mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passes. Number 6. Resolution 2022-12. Imelda funding administered by the Texas General Land Office. Ms. Gonzalez.
So this is just we did for the administrator of this grant that we're trying to go for. This is the one for
Number 5. That was it.
Yeah,
We're done, right?
Yes.
My confirm today.
Congratulations.
So this is, sorry, this is just to go ahead and approve. We only have granted their RFP. This is the one that we've been about doing the infrastructure and the seawall down over here. We need to make it official and appoint them. We didn't reply to the RFQ. So Grantworks will resubmit for the engineer once we appoint them as the administrator. So then they'll take care of to rerun the ad and rerun all of the emails and things that we have to send out to get as one of the engineers that we sent to respond. Nobody responded to the engineer.
Ms. Gonzalez, sorry to interrupt. Ms. Gonzalez, sorry to interrupt. Just please make a note that Mr. Carter left the meeting and at what time, please, for the minutes.
7:04 or 7:03.
Sorry, continue.
He's gonna need to do the payback.
To do the
But he doesn't
work.
want to do the, so that guy doesn't actually want to do, he will counsel, but he doesn't actually want to put the hammer to the ground.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so that's why he didn't put a bid in. He said he'll oversee and help us, but not actually do that.
Question?
This is just a resolution.
This is just what one grant works.
This is just to appoint grant work.
Okay, I make a-
I'll second. Councilmember Worrell, second by Councilmember.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes?
Councilmember Tolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickamillo,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Number 7, an executive closed session to the Open Meetings Act as authorized by the Texas Government Code regarding any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to section 551-071, consultation with town attorney and pending litigation, 551-072, deliberation regarding 554, deliberation regarding personnel matters, and 5 deliberation regarding development negotiations. You have a motion to go into executive session? Oh, I, deliberation regarding appointment of city manager. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Motion for made by Councilmember Villarreal. And by Mr. Gonzalez.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes?
Councilmember Tolan,
Yes.
Councilmember Worrell,
Yes.
Councilmember Dickamillo,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
7:07.
So we can turn it on.